engaging celebrity interviews, exciting updates from Christian filmmakers, movie reviews so you can choose your movies wisely, and so much more here on Faith on Film with Isaac Hernandez and Holly McClure.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Faith on Film. So excited to have you join us today. Holly, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Isaac. And I love when we interview producers, directors, people kind of behind the scenes of movies. And today we're going to do just that. And it's a new movie coming out, a true story, Brave the Dark. And we're going to show you a trailer on it. But we're going to interview Derek Dienner, who's going to talk about the film, the production, what happened on it, and some faith elements of it, as well as the other side of the story. So can't wait for you guys to watch it. It's going to be a great interview.
Fantastic. Well, let's take a look at the trailer.
My father was an angry man. Not a bad person, just like him.
Nathan Williams, you're under arrest.
I'm here to see Nathan Williams.
Are you family?
No, I'm his teacher. You don't belong here. We're gonna get you out. Do you have any family I can call? No one. You gotta get back in school.
You have a convicted felon living with you.
A poor little homeless boy in a charity case would make you feel good? What?
You do realize that this is your only chance.
Screw you, dude.
Screw me, really? You're not a social worker.
There's a good kid there.
Is there a problem?
You have brought him back here. What exactly do you know about this kid?
Hey. I know he was living out of his car for 2 years, going hungry.
You've got to be careful. This is not the same as being their teacher.
Stand on the chair, take a deep breath.
Sam, your first priority is to this school.
Isn't my first priority to my students?
What?
All of them?
Failure to graduate guarantees you serve the sentence in full.
You gonna try and fix me? You know any people who tried?
Maybe we're getting somewhere. Come on, what else you got? Come on!
A liar, a loser. I've heard it all before.
You know, whether it's something your dad did to you or your mom didn't do, you have got to deal with it.
You weren't there.
Why are you here if I don't care?
I care that you don't go to prison. Some kids are born behind the 8 ball.
I can't do this. And I'm cursed.
We're lying to them when we say everything's gonna work out just fine. But don't those kids deserve the same chance as the others?
Welcome to Faith on Film, Derek.
Yeah, we are excited about this interview and excited about this movie, Brave the Dark. My goodness,
Yes.
it's not a typical, I think, teen film. In fact, it really deals with a lot of issues. Tell us what it's about, so that people get a good idea. It's rated PG-13, so we're assuming it's for what 8, 9, 10 and above crowd, preteen. What would you say?
Yeah, I'd say I have 2 kids, 14 and 11. And, I would say my kids actually have not seen it until opening weekend. They've been kind of sitting on the edge of the seats waiting for this. I'll take my kids to see it and above, but it does deal with some mature, topics and things with Nate going through really hard things in his life and experienced trauma as a young kid. But there's such redemption and hope in this film. And Mr. Dean's character, played by Jared Harris, he's just an incredible actor and plays a lot of hope, and there's a lot of fun. He is like a really joyful human, Mr. Dean, in real life, and it was based on his life. So it's a beautiful film.
And it's a story. Can give us a brief synopsis of what it is. We pick up where he, is out of school, in school. Just give us a synopsis.
Yeah. So it really starts when Nate is 16. It's in 1986, 16, 17 years old there, and he's in school. He's living out of his car. And nobody knows it. He's lying to everybody at school, lying to his teachers. He ran away from his foster family and is living out of his car. And so he's getting in and out of jail, in and out of trouble. And his teacher notices and doesn't just let the system take care of him and decides to step in and see what's really going on. And he really discovers, a dark past and discovers kind of how can he help this kid get through it. I describe it as like a Good Will Hunting meets Mr. Holland's Opus meets Dead Poet Society, where you have, intense childhood kind of stories, and we flash back to when he was a kid, and he's slowly starting to, kind of get his memories back as he has these, memories that are coming back along the way.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I watched the film, and I tell you, I was really taken aback by the actor that played Mr. Dean. I just thought he did an amazing job. Very funny, actually. There was a lot of comedy. It was a serious film, but there was also a lot of comedy, especially from him.
Yes.
How did you cast him? How did you find him?
Yeah. He was in Mad Men. I've seen him and watched him for a good long time, probably 22 decades. Great films. He is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the best character actors of our generation, of his generation, and Richard Harris was his dad, one of the best actors as well. I mean, just incredible talent. His brother Damian Harris was the director, and miraculously in the world of independent film, how things have to happen sometimes. Damian got the script through a friend, through his stepdad, and it was a guy from Inspiring Films in New Zealand that sent him the script, and then Damian loved the story, really connected with it, and started sharing it with Jared. Like, hey, would you, want to play Mr. Dean? And Jared said, yeah, of course. This is a dream of a lifetime. A role of a lifetime, and that's really how it happened.
Oh wow! Look at how God connected those dots for you.
I know it's such a providential, crazy stories one after another. I feel like. If I ever imagined this film wasn't supposed to happen, I need to just look back at the last 13 years, and then it's amazing.
And Nicholas Hamilton, who plays Nathan. Let's talk his career, where he's from. That kid's talented.
I know. Yeah, he really is. He was in It and Captain Fantastic, and Damian knew him from kind of his connections in LA. They both lived in LA at the time, and the director Damian Harris brought him in too. So Damian was a big part of this film, making it all happen.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Now the story it goes back and deals back with tell us some of the themes, so people identify with this, because a lot of different themes are covered.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a universal film that covers a lot of different things, but it opens up with Nate running, and it's basically. Nate is trying to not run from his past, I think, and he is running from his past. It's a combination of those things. And he runs track to just take a shower. Like, he needs the shower because he's living out of his car. But he's also really talented. He won a lot of races. But the theme is like, don't run from your past. Don't let your past dictate your future. And then it's also like, I mean, that's one big theme. I mean, I don't want to gloss over that. That's a big theme.
Well, go ahead, Isaac.
Now, I mean, another obvious theme here is, of course, the fact of, Mr. Dean being such a mentor and caring for this kid. And
yes,
apparently that was just his personality. He really loved students. He loved kids, loved his students, his people around him that needed help. How did you come up with this story? How did you find it?
Well, so Nate, who the story's about, like his actual story, 13 years ago, he started writing it down with his writing partner, John Spencer. And, Mr. Dean, Stan always told him, listen, Nate, you have such a great story. You need to write this down. And he finally did 13 years ago, wrote it into a film format. And just kind of evolved. I wasn't involved right away. I knew Nate from, there's a Sight and Sound Theater, Sight and Sound Films. Nate worked there for 35 years. Stan actually got him a job there. When he graduated high school. Stan directed shows at Sight and Sound as well. And so, I knew about the story, I heard about it, but Nate was on his own path for 13 years, and then, got some other people involved with another production company called Inspiring Films. And then 4 years ago, they brought me in, and I went to high school at Garden Spot High School. I knew Stan Dean well. Like, I have a really personal connection there. And, I'm from Lancaster as well, and it's such a Lancaster hero story. I mean, honestly, everybody in the community knows who Stan Dean is. Like, they knew his impact. He impacted thousands of kids. When he retired from Garden Spot, he went on to do community theater and, taught the next generation of kids on stage. And it's just a profound impact on our community. So I'm honestly just so lucky and privileged to have been part of making this film.
Okay. So Nathan, has he seen the film?
Yeah, so he was also executive producer on the film. the whole way through. I mean, he's traveling with me for press and doing different things with me. And, the first time he saw the film was the director's cut, which was probably about 15 minutes longer than the current version. And he just sobbed after, and just him and the director just embraced. And it was just a beautiful moment, but also a hard moment because he just saw his whole life on screen. I mean, it was about a year of his life that's on screen. And it's hard as you see the film, the things that Nate dealt with in his life. I'm always thanking him because he decided to share his underwear drawer, with the world, share his dirty secrets of his past. But he was emotional, and even now, I get emotional every time I see it. The movie still works for me even now after seeing it so many times. And for him too.
Have kids? Does Nathan have children?
No, so he's married, doesn't have kids. They have 2 dogs, but
Not the same.
I know. And he started the Stan Dean Foundation, which is in honor of Stan. And so that's kind of the next step. He's been working on this film for many years, and now he's using this film and his platform to help other kids. And that's kind of like Stan didn't have any kids either, and basically Nate became his son, and Stan became his dad, and Nate wants to do the same thing with kids as well, which is amazing.
I love that. Now, because really, kind of doing the same thing that Stan did. Question about, people we don't call this a faith-based film. Okay, this is a realistic story of something that really happened. So, there are situations, it's PG-13, so I'm assuming there's no really hard, rough situations, but there's probably some things. What would you advise parents for young teens to be aware of, if anything?
Yeah, I think there's like I said, I'm going to have my kids see it, but it's definitely, there's conversations to be had after that. I think it's important that it's one of those films that just leaves you sitting like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person went through that. And then I can't believe that, Stan didn't give up on him, because Nate just kept running away from Mr. Dean. He kept the running theme is a huge deal in this film. And our goal is to have people watch it. And if they say, listen, I'm like Stan, I can make a bigger impact, I need to actually do more to help kids and people in need, then learn, kind of be inspired by that. But if you're a teenager going through hardships and challenges, don't give up. There's a lot of hope in this film. And, Stan was a man of faith as well.
That was my other question. What is the hopeful things, about this? And there are faith elements in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you said, I wouldn't classify this as a faith-based film at all, but there's not a clear call to the gospel or anything like that, in that term. But Stan's life exemplified faith, and everybody in the community knew that. I mean, he did a lot of speaking at churches and at groups for kids, and in the morning before school and all that. Really was helping, and he would always try to invite Nate to go with him on these things. And for years, for about 2 years, Nate kind of rejected that. We don't really cover that in the film because that's after the film finishes. But, Nate kind of didn't know how to deal with that. But Stan was okay with that. He's like, I'm going to give you kind of love of Christ through my life right now.
Yes.
And use that as a way. But Nate really, he wanted to make this film. He really didn't want to make this film, no offense, but for Christians. He wanted to make it for people who are going through challenges.
Taken.
Yeah, I'm Christian.
We need that. I was just saying, we need films like this about teachers that are good teachers, that are caring teachers, that step in and can minister to a child where a parent can or has not.
Yes.
So, sometimes, this is, I think, what a great overcoming story and an inspiration. In the days where we're kind of trashing sometimes in public school, teachers, I think this is an important film and story because there are good teachers out there that are caring.
There are. Teachers, we took this on the film festival circuit, and teachers watched this and were just like, oh man, I wanted to give up. This film helped me, think about that kid in the back of the classroom that I gave up on. And there's a line in the film where Stan's talking to the principal and saying something like, you know what, there are certain kids that we know we're going to make it. They're going to be fine. They have a support system around them. They have a family around them. They're probably going to get a scholarship, something. But then there are the other kids that are born behind the 8 ball. And isn't it our job to help them? Isn't it our job to kind of and the principal's like, you're not a social worker. He's like, yeah, but I'm supposed to be here for my kids. And that's the type of thing that the themes that go through this. And as Christians, we can watch this and be like, man, we can get so busy with our lives and all the things that we have going on. We need to be more like Stan in those situations and be selfless and Christ-like. It's amazing.
Oh, dear.
One thing I really enjoyed, by the way, about the movie was how you kind of kept me strung along, because as we went through the movie, I kept saying, well, what's it cost for him to, what was the reason he became that angry? What was going on? And,
I know.
And it's not till the very end where I went, now I get it. And I don't want to give what the movie was,
the whole thing.
But it was one of those aha moments, So my hat's off to you, man.
Thank you.
I won't really take it off because I'm bald.
Yeah, I won't. No, the same for me. We're both that.
I have one more question. I just want to know, after making this movie, and you don't have to out anyone if you don't want to, but
yeah, no, that's fine.
Making this movie, were Jared and Nicholas influenced in any way by these true stories of these men and what they went through? I mean, sometimes actors do roll and they come out and it really affects them.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, Damien, the director, and Damien, the director, and Jared and Nick, they were really influenced in a positive way. I really believe that they, the character of Stan, is almost like he was just this optimistic beacon of light, and they were inspired by him. I mean, Jared really became close with Nate, and so did Nick too, and Damien, the director, really got a great friendship with Nate, and with me too, but really with Nate, and became really good friends and inspiring each other. So it's really cool to see the impact of Stan's legacy and how many more people it's going to affect. Because I've always said, if you go to New Holland, Pennsylvania, it's a small little town in the middle of Pennsylvania, and Stan gave his life for this community, for the kids of New Holland, and it's time for his story, his life, to get the world stage that it always deserved.
And brave the dark. Is it going to be released in theaters? So where can people, by the time we'll see this, it's already been out. But I mean, do you have plans? Yeah. Brave the Dark is released by Angel Studios, and January 24th will be the opening weekend. Theater near you. It's a huge wide release all over the country. And so if you check out Angel Studios or go to bravethedark.com, you can check out more information. But it's incredible. It's incredible to see it all being released soon.
Yeah,
Derek, God's blessings on everything too. This is going to be great. Angel Studios behind you.
Yes.
Now, I'd like to pivot a little bit here and maybe talk a little bit more about you, because one thing that I love is for our audience to know not just your movie, not just about the movie that's coming out, but you personally. I hope that's okay with you, that we're going to get a little personal here. I understand that at the age of 31, you were diagnosed with colon cancer.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's crazy. I have a production company, Make Films, and that's why, I decided to produce this film, because I'm about making meaningful content, making meaningful films, and we do advertising and commercials. But in my early 30s, 31, I was just building a company, raising my kids. I have a 14, 11-year-old, my wife, and never thought about mortality, never thought about kind of the end of my life until, smacked me in the face with colorectal cancer diagnosis, stage 3 at 31. And so that was quite a faith journey until I really as I got through that with chemo and surgery and all the things you do with cancer. But I was just so fortunate to have, a treatable diagnosis. Stage 3 was still hard to go through and all the things, but I'm very thankful to have gotten through that 7 years ago now. And I actually call it the day I became alive. That's what I call it, August 24th, 2017, because I don't feel like I've been the same since.
Did you have faith before that? Were you raised in a church? Or did you find your faith as a result of going?
Well, I definitely found a deeper level of faith. I've had faith since a child. I was raised, in faith, but that was my relationship with God, and kind of the faith that I experienced through that journey was way deeper than I ever had in my life.
It changes you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And I actually did a short little 11-minute short documentary about my journey called The Day I Became Alive. And I wanted people to find that, when it's 1 a.m. and they're Googling cancer, right after they were diagnosed or something. Because we always, when you're Googling cancer, you find the bad articles about, the bad stories about somebody who passed away after a diagnosis and then a month later they're gone or something. It doesn't spread as fast about how how you can be treated and how you can actually get through it, and just my faith and how that brought me through it. So that's the reason why I made it. And as a filmmaker, I just wanted to tell that story.
Amen, wonderful. Amen. Beautiful. Amen is right.
I understand you have your own podcast. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me about that.
Started a podcast called Make Impact, and we just have been talking to people who are using creative ideas, storytelling to make an impact. So other entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur filmmaker, so it's just as much as I love the storytelling element of filmmaking, I love the entrepreneurial journey of every movie is a startup. It's its own journey. It's its own impossible Mount Everest feat, right? And so with Make Impact, it was about trying to highlight people that are doing things in that space and in the creative or storytelling or using stories to impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, how can people follow you? How can they connect with you? Perhaps maybe even pray with you to make sure that you stay healthy.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, so Brave the Dark, you can go on the Brave the Dark website or Angel Studios. Please follow along, and I'd love for you to see that impact story. Me personally, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm really active on Instagram with Derek Dienner, and then Make Films Co. is my Instagram for my production company, and yeah.
Well, we're going to put some of your quotes this weekend on our social media, so look for those. Connect you to it. And we're going to support everyone. Go see Brave the Dark. It is a phenomenal story.
Yes.
And it's got a phenomenal team behind it, which is even more fun to find out about.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Derek. And God bless you and all that you are doing.
You guys too. Thank you.
And we praise God for your healing, because I think there's always, you always give a praise report for that. And that's part of the story too. So thank you for sharing that with us. Really appreciate it. God bless.
Yeah. Thank you both. You too. God bless. My name is Derek Dienner. I'm a producer of the film Brave the Dark and owner of production company Make Films. And you're watching Faith on Film.
Isaac, so true. Jared Harris, who stars in this man is brilliant. He's been in Hollywood for a long time. I loved him in Mad Men. He's done so many other things, though, that big epics and Hollywood epics. And Nicholas Hamilton, who stars as Nathan. I mean, these are Hollywood actors who did these roles, and it touched and affected them. And that's how I love how God works in Hollywood, because he weaves in characters that they're playing. But when they can see faith involved in real life situations, it changes their perspective too. I love that.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a good thing that you don't have to get out there and proselytize sometimes to these people. All you have to do is live your life the way you would as a Christian, obviously, and be an example to them. And that's how many times you can affect people. I remember the little bit of time that I worked in Hollywood. Just being myself really seemed to have affected the crew that was not Christian, because I started praying before the show every day that we were doing the show, and I mentioned it to them, and I said, this is just me. I'm just going to pray. I don't expect you anything from you. I'm just going to pray because it calms me down. By the end of the week, it was a live weekly show or a daily show. By the end of the week, they were reminding me, "Hey, Isaac, don't forget to pray." So it made an impact just. Being amongst Hollywood people, secular, non-Christians, but being a Christian.
Yes. And I mean, I like you talked about, this is an important story, not just for showing how a kid came out of abuse, but there's other things in this, the relationship he has with a girlfriend. There's other things that happened with his character and how he kept going, kept leaving. And the teacher, the real life guy, Stan, kept pulling him back. And how Nathan wrote his story and was on set. And how touching it was for him and emotional to see his real life story portrayed on the screen.
Right.
What he was and what he went through. I mean, this is going to be a movie. I'm betting, for a lot of parents, especially with troubled teens and teenagers, this would be a great film, great story to take your son or daughter or grandson or daughter to go see. And, it helps them see another character in real time perspective. Again, I love how he said too, it's not like a faith-based film. It's a story that has valuable, spiritual and redeeming elements to it for filmmakers.
And that's what I think I appreciate about this movie and several more that have been coming out, is that they are movies that are intended for not just a Christian audience. And I have no problem with strong Christian movies that are preaching to the choir, and they're intended for the choir, for the Christian folks, of course. But I appreciate that movies are being made now that go beyond the Christian market and are are acceptable, are good for non-Christian people that will relate to them. Because you know what, a movie that where everybody speaks Christianese, and says, "Did you go to church today?" Yes, because the Bible says, that we must not forsake the gathering of the saints. Okay, well, the Christian will go, "Yeah, that's right, we can do that, amen." But a non-Christian hears that and they don't get it, they don't understand that, so therefore that movie they don't relate to that movie. And movies like this one, they definitely will. And the other part that I'm excited about is that it's a movie that's being made about men and good, godly men, if you will, men that really care about
role models.
youth, role models. So I really love what this movie is all about.
I do too, and the fact that, like we even said in the interview, it's not. We're glad that there's movies like this, because there's people that will never go to a church. They won't even go to a Christian movie. But if they see Brave the Dark, oh, what's that about? Oh, it's this troubled teen. They may go see that. So I love that we need, you guys, this is what God was talking about. Go into the world and preach the world, not just going to the church and going to the Christian market, but go into the world and preach the gospel. And this is a way to go in and suddenly preach it, get a message in there, but do it in a great way. And we're behind that. So we really hope that you guys will see it. It's going to be released, I think, in another month or two. He said they're talking to theaters. So I think it'll have a release that soon, probably in the next month is what they're first saying that they're going to do, the end of January, 1st of February. But Brave the Dark, we can only say it's a great film. Go see it. It may not have elements, again, choose your movies wisely. Okay, we're not saying this is a Christian movie. We're saying it's a movie about real issues and real scenarios and real situations, that are going to deal with real things, but it does have a redemptive story at the end and a theme at the end. And the characters actually went on to do good in real life and, support and sponsor troubled kids and have organizations that do it. And so it went way beyond ministry, beyond this movie.
Absolutely.
So there was ministry from the
But by the way, it doesn't, what you said, it's not a Christian movie, but it doesn't have anything that would be objectionable really to a Christian. There's no F-bombs, there's no cussing like that. There's no nudity, no sex. It's actually a pretty safe movie. There's drug use,
just mature, it's just PG-13 things. Like he said, he has teenagers, he's taking his kids to see it, and preteens, but it's not, don't take your 5, your 5-year-old probably won't get much out of it. It's not that kind of thing. But,
it's for teens and up. Absolutely. Well, that takes care of today's show, Holly. We certainly are getting started, very well in this year.
That's right. And we love promoting films of good messages and with Christians behind it. We love that.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to remind all of you to go to our website, faithonfilmtv.com. That's faithonfilmtv.com, and just go check it out. And of course, visit our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@faithonfilmtv. You'll find a lot of our shows there. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all those wonderful places at Faith on Film TV. Holly?
Thanks, Rick.
That's it.
Blessings to all, and thanks everyone for watching.
Bye-bye now.
Write to us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications on our latest Faith on Film shows.